Am I the a-hole for using my husband's money to pay for my daughter's Apple iPhone that he broke? My daughter is 16. She had her old phone for 5 years and always wanted a new phone. I'm the only one working right now since my husband decided to take a break from work after he inherited some money from his dad. I saw that she did pretty good at school despite having mental health issues that had gotten in the way of her focus before her. And so I decided to keep her encouraged and reward her by getting her an Apple iPhone that cost a good sum of money. I did my best to save money to buy it. I literally skipped paying for breakfast at work to be able to afford it. And my husband didn't want to help, so I was on my own. I bought her the iPhone, and quite honestly, I haven't seen her this happy in a while. It was refreshing for me because she really went through some hard time in the past couple of years emotionally and mentally. My husband wasn't happy with us as he said the iPhone will only distract her from school and chores. But that wasn't true. In fact, it encouraged her to do more. But he still said I shouldn't have spent that kind of money on an iPhone that she might be irresponsible with and break. My daughter picked up on his attitude towards the iPhone, but I told her to ignore him. Days ago, I found out that he broke the iPhone. I asked why, and he said he asked her to get him something from the toolbox in the garage, but she was on the iPhone and ignored him. He used this incident as evidence that the iPhone was bad influence, but I yelled at him and demanded he replace it. He said he wouldn't, so I took money out of his account and paid for a new iPhone and gave it to my daughter. He saw what I did and went off on me, calling me vicious and awful, and accused me of stealing his father's money and demanded the money I took, every single penny back. I basically told him it won't happen. Then he got his mother on me saying I'm setting a terrible example for my daughter by getting her a phone paid for with money that I stole from her dad. My husband said he won't speak a word to me till I fix this, but I already said I owe him nothing. Am I the a-hole for this? Edited to add, no. He's her biological father, not stepdad. And price for the iPhone where I live is $1,000 and it's not cheap. Finding out that I took $1,000 out of his inheritance really got him so furious that he said I was the worst woman he met in his life. He had 2 ex-wives if this is any way relevant. He took it back later, then said he won't speak till the money's back. Now for the top comments. Sounds like you need to save up for a divorce. Run. Run, don't walk. Contact DA survivor groups in your area and plan an escape route. Things like this do not happen in a vacuum. To purposefully break someone's belongings because their actions anger you. This is so abusive and controlling, and it's just a massive red flag. How can Opie's daughter feel safe around a parent who resorts to damaging their property? What's next? Her bedroom door? Not stay home. Making him pay for an item he deliberately broke, especially when he knew how hard you saved to buy it, is perfectly acceptable. Extremely concerning facts. 1. Felt it was acceptable for him to break a valuable possession of your daughter's as punishment. 2. That he felt running to enlist aid from his mother and berating you is a good idea. 3. Thinks the silent treatment is an acceptable form of punishment. This really needs to be dealt with, and you absolutely need to make sure your daughter is not being treated badly as part of your relationship problems. Get couples counseling immediately or reassess the marriage, but don't let your daughter get put in the middle. Also add, 4. Doesn't work but can't get own tools from toolbox. I'd bet money did this intentionally knowing daughter was on phone to justify breaking it. He didn't really need anything. 5. Doesn't appreciate his own daughter's hard work and commitment to achieving her goals. What a piece of turd. And also, though I know a lot of people split finances, it rubs me the wrong way that he inherited enough to not work for a while and hoards all the money. I know people will come after me about this probably since it is his inheritance, but I could not imagine inheriting enough money to not work and then watch my hubby skip meals to save money. It's just wrong to me. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for letting my fiancé fend for himself after he constantly compared me to his mom? My fiancé had a heart attack and required an open heart surgery 2 weeks ago. He just got home a few days ago and I'm caring for him. A little backstory. His mom and I don't have a good relationship. Since the beginning of my relationship to my fiancé, his mom would constantly try to compete with me and one-up me on everything. She always claimed that she would be the first woman in my fiancé's life because she birthed and raised him, and how I can't break their bond. For the most part, those comments were unprovoked, and at first I would be too scared to defend myself. But later I stood up for myself, and my fiancé stood up for me and established some boundaries with his mom. His mom sometimes crosses some of those boundaries, but for the most part, she's been acting a bit better. During his stay in the hospital, both I and his mom took turns staying with him. Ever since we got home, I'm the one caring for him 24/7. And I don't mind. I love him and I want him to get better. But I got extremely upset because after we got home, he was being ungrateful about everything. He started comparing me to his mom. He started saying his mom would do X thing better, and why can't I do it like his mom since that's how he likes it. He gives backhanded compliments to the foods I make, and says it's good, but not like my mom's. He sometimes also snaps at me because I won't do something quick enough or properly enough, and he will tell me words like, "I wish my mom was here. She wouldn't be so useless. Just tell her to come here if you can't do these basic tasks." I was patient with him because I didn't want to upset him during his recovery. But what made me lose my mind and leave the house was when he told me that his mom was probably right when she said she would be the first woman in his life, since she'd care about him better than I do. And how it was a mistake establishing boundaries with her, and that I was the one he should have established boundaries with. After this comment, I didn't think twice. I just packed 2 clothes on my handbag and left and went to stay at my cousin's house. He called me and said I'm an a-hole for leaving him home alone while he's recovering, and that I should have at least called his mom first so she'd come. I told him he should call her and it's none of my business anymore. My parents told me I was out of line leaving him to fend for himself, and that is right that I should have called his mom first, and how I'm the a-hole for making this about me when my fiancé's recovery should be my priority. Not the a-hole. Go back, pack the rest of your stuff and leave him for good. He's showing his true colors. A mama's boy will always be a mama's boy, and you'll always come second. For all these years, he was an amazing partner who was able to set all the right boundaries to his mom. I don't know what changed now. It is switched that fast. Nothing changed. This is who he is. It's easy to put up boundaries when things are going well. I have sympathy for him in terms of his recovery from surgery, but ultimately it's difficult circumstances that really test a partner's willingness to maintain said boundaries. If he can go back on his word this time, he'll do it again. Exactly. Sure, the surgery is a huge emotional and painful process that can bring out the worst in some people, but it sounds like he has adjusted his true self long enough to lock Opie into marriage and kids. Once that happens and Opie is tied down, Mommy will take over his life again. Not stay home. Also, run. Call off the wedding. He can marry his mom since he doesn't get the difference between wife and mother. Oh, trust me, he gets the difference. He just wanted to switch it to his benefit each time. All these years, his mom was useless to him, so he was perfectly fine setting boundaries with her. Suddenly, he started missing the mommy care and switched me to the bad guy because I was not an exact copy of his mom. Because he thought he'd replaced her. Up to now, you've probably met his mom expectations, and this is the first time you haven't. This will never stop. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my mom for an heirloom ring to propose to my girlfriend with? I never thought my asking would cause such a problem, but here we are. It wasn't my intention to cause such a problem, and I would like to know if I'm the a-hole because of my request. My mom has a ring she inherited from her mom. It belonged to her grandmother and has always been passed down the line. My mom doesn't have any brothers or sisters, and I only have a brother and not any sisters. My mom always said one of us could have the ring to give to our future wife if we wanted. When my brother got engaged to his wife, she didn't like the ring, so my brother gave it back to our mom and bought a different one to re-propose with. When I was getting ready to propose to my girlfriend, the ring was still available. I asked my mom if I could have it for my girlfriend. She agreed, and my girlfriend ended up loving the ring. She can't wear jewelry at her job. She's a surgical nurse, but she wears it the rest of the time. My brother went bonkers when he found out I gave the ring to my girlfriend when he saw our engagement photo. First he said I didn't have the right because it was his, or his wife's. But neither of them wanted the ring. He gave it back to my mom for crying out loud. My mom wasn't upset that my sister-in-law didn't want it. She figured she didn't like vintage and might prefer a modern ring. My brother proposed in 2010 and the ring hasn't been mentioned since then. But my sister-in-law is mad now that my girlfriend has the ring. But again, she didn't want it. She exchanged her engagement ring a couple of years back for a different one. So I don't know if she just can't make up her mind or what, but in 2010, she didn't want mom's ring. My brother accused me of being a cheapskate, except that he proposed with a ring too back then. If my girlfriend didn't like it or it didn't exist, I could have afforded the ring. The ring isn't particularly valuable besides sentiment. Now they want me to ask my girlfriend for it back and return it to our mom. I haven't told my girlfriend anything about how furious my brother and sister-in-law are because I don't want this to bring bad feelings about the ring. My brother claims I stepped on his toes and that it wasn't cool, which I don't understand why they care after all this time. Both of them are very angry at me, and I honestly don't understand if I broke some unwritten rule or they are overreacting. Am I the a-hole? Be honest. If it turns out I'm wrong, I'll accept it. Now for the comments. Not stay home. Mom, hey son number 1, do you want this thing? Son number 1, no thanks, I don't. You keep it. Son number 2, hey, can I have that thing? Mom, yes, you can. Son number 1, that's mine. He's like a toddler who only wants something because someone else is playing with it. My kids do exactly this, but they're 6 and 2. Yeah, I was going to say this sounds like my 6 and 3-year-old, but like, it's something they get chastised for, and we actively work on them not being petty like that. Not stay home. If brother had proposed with it, sister-in-law then said she wanted something different for her engagement ring, but liked the ring and otherwise wanted to keep it to hand down to their children. Then it would have been inappropriate for Opie to ask his brother for the ring. But the ring was given back to the mother. Brother didn't keep it, so it's fair game. Not stay home. They're out of their damn minds. If, and that's a big if, they planned on giving it to, say, a future daughter, if they even had one, they should have said something to your mother. There is no reason your girlfriend shouldn't keep the ring. Do not give the ring back. There are no take-see-backsies here. Tell them to get bent. They don't have children. They don't want the ring as an heirloom because there's no one to give it to after them. But they say it is rightfully theirs, and it should go back to our mom. Yeah, then they're on some weird power trip. Do they not like your girlfriend? I just don't know where the entitlement could be coming from. Have you asked them? They have never met her before, so I don't know. He just claims on repeat it was rightfully his because he's the oldest, and it was earmarked for him, even though he ignores the parts where he gave it back. Not stay home. I hope your fiancé wears it everywhere and posts it in every picture imaginable on Instagram and shows the entire world because she loves it. I hope you guys make it your lock screen photos and use it on your invitations. I hope you have a giant seating chart and the ring is in the background image, and I hope your brother and sister-in-law have to face it while they eat. I hope your cheesy wedding slideshow has the ring flying through the screen as a screen wipe. I hope you get it goddamn tattooed to your bicep so you can literally flex on your brother every time you see him. Even if you did every single one of these things, you still wouldn't be the a-hole because you gave back the ring to your mom, making it your mother's ring that she gave to you. Last story. Am I the a-hole for paying for my brother-in-law's rehab but not my sister-in-law's needed surgery to test for cancer? I'm 28 female, my brother-in-law is 32 male, and my sister-in-law is 46 female. My brother-in-law is hands down one of the best people I know. He is a gentle giant with the biggest heart, who would take the shirt off his back to help you. 4 years ago, he was overtaken by grief after the passing of his daughter, aged 4, and unfortunately turned to bad habits to grieve. I did not have the financial capabilities to help him with rehab, but I made it work. I put a lot of our stuff up for sale, and with the help of the community, I was able to put him through a rehab a little over a year and a half ago. And so far, he is doing great. He is home again now, and we make sure that we are there for him through the really hard days. His daughter's birthday, death day, and holidays. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, is a person who asks for handouts constantly and never returns the favor. Every time she knows I have money or got a bonus, she will say things like, "So, what are you going to buy your favorite sister-in-law?" Or, "You can get me this since you have the money." She knows I'm currently in a really good position financially after landing a promotion with a significant pay raise 4 months ago. Now, here's the thing. My sister-in-law cried wolf too many times. Last year, she pulled a pity train on her Girl Scout leaders. Her daughter was in the group, stating that she had mastitis or something, and they gave her a bunch of funds from the Girl Scouts bank account to help her, and it turns out she never even had it. She just used the money to buy a new sectional couch and electronics. This time around, she supposedly has a massive lump on her ovaries, and they are worried it may be cancerous. So she needs a biopsy and she can't afford it. Both her and her husband make damn good money and she has health insurance, but she calls and asks me if I can loan her $5,000 for the surgery startup, and I straight up said no. She asks why, and I told her because every year she comes up with a new medical problem and weasels money out of people. And without proof, like paperwork, I don't believe her. She says I'm an a-hole for thinking she is lying. And since I helped pay for her brother's rehab, saying I should be more understanding because this is more serious, and that brother-in-law made his bed and should have laid in it, whereas she didn't do this to herself. The rest of the family thinks I'm out of line as well, except for my husband who is on my side 100%. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Also, it is none of their business how much money you make or doesn't make. I would have discussion with your spouse about you no longer wishing to discuss your finances with them. They don't need to know this info. She works for the same company as me. That's how she knows about my financial state. She applied for my position, so she needs a salary. Does she also have insurance through the same company? If so, why would her copay for a biopsy be $5,000? Are you sure she's not trying to get cosmetic surgery? Not that it matters. Your money, your call. Not they all. I actually question this. So admittedly, our health insurance kind of sucks. We have a really high copays and deductibles, and just for basic family insurance, it is $250 a paycheck. So I personally go through another provider and just pay out of pocket. And I have told her to do the same, but she doesn't want to deal with the hassle of it, claiming it is tedious. On to the cosmetic end. I questioned whether or not this actually might be for a tummy tuck or liposuction. My sister-in-law is severely overweight, pushing 450, and has talked about these surgeries multiple times. Am I the a-hole? My friend is having an affair. We plan to tell her husband. Plus updates. Original post. I've known Anna, female 38, since we were in high school. We are part of a group of 5. Now we hang out as families for Christmas, birthdays, Easter, etc. It has been like this for over 10 years. My partner, Greg, male 39, is good friends with Anna's husband, Darren, male 39. Anna recently told me she's having an affair with one of their family friends, who is also Darren's sister's ex-partner. At the time, I remained non-judgmental and supportive. Once the information set in and I realized how disloyal and gross the whole situation is, my sense of justice and moral compass came into play. Darren is a good man. Anna says he is a wonderful father and husband, but she just doesn't feel the connection with him anymore, despite faking it the last 6 months to keep her secret under wraps. I knew keeping this from Greg may backfire on me if he found out I also hid a secret. So I told him. He is shattered for his mate, and it is eating at him. I've told Anna that Greg knows. She's mad at me for the betrayal, expecting me to take it to my grave. She knows they're catching up soon and Greg plans to tell him. Anna has not asked for a separation because they have an overseas trip coming up in October. She has told me financially that she can't leave. Keeping in mind, she regularly gets expensive treatments like Botox and taking roids to have her look her best. We want to tell Darren about her affair in 2 weeks. Will we be the a-holes? She doesn't want to tell him because they have an overseas trip coming up. Likely a trip he's paying for, and she wants to leech off him. Tell him. We will. He will want to sell her tickets and cancel reservations. The sooner he knows, likely the less money he'll lose. I put this above, but he needs to freeze his credit immediately and contact any credit card companies to cancel cards and get an update on money she spent. Either running up the bill now or spending on her affair partner. Same with bank accounts, college savings accounts for the kids, you name it. Her money train is about to derail. Unless she's stupid, she's going to try and get every penny out that she can. Also, to add to this, as part of the conversation where Darren gets told about the affair, he needs to be told that he has to do all of this before confronting his wife about the affair. She's made it very clear that she's only in it for the money at this point, so he needs to cut that off as soon as possible. She is mad at me for the betrayal. Cheater mad for betrayal. The irony. Also not asking for separation because of a trip? What will happen after the trip? You would be the a-hole if you don't tell Darren immediately. She's greedy and selfish, I suppose. That's an understatement. Edit/mini update. Some have asked why we are waiting. Greg works away. He is home in 2 weeks, closer to 1.5 weeks now, but feels like due to the nature of the conversation, it should be in person. He knows Darren will be very upset, possibly angry, and wants to be here to support him in those initial moments. I feel like I should also mention there are kids involved. Do we tell him via text sooner? Let's clear some things up. They have always had separate bank accounts. They do not join money, and never have specifically because of how she spends money. They both work and put in a percentage of how much they earn into the home. She does not have access to his money and will not be able to clean it out in the 2 weeks. I know for a fact he keeps a very close eye on the credit cards. While we were away and she was buying unnecessary things like clothing, she made sure to use her card, not the credit. She says he will question her about it since they are trying to pay off the house and save for the trip to Bali. We are in Australia and laws are different. Things will more than likely be 50-50 financially. Greg can't quickly fly or drive back from work. It's a 13-hour drive one way and $600 plane fare. He's first in, first out, and cannot leave until R&R begins. While we all live in the same state, Australia's pretty damn big. She told me directly she would want the kids to be 50-50. Anna's never liked kids, and while she loves her own, I think the thought of having them full-time sounds like a walking nightmare to her. The person she's having an affair with has lunch with her locally sometimes while she is on lunch break from work. They have run into acquaintances multiple times. He comes for a family dinner twice a week. The kids have caught Anna sitting on his lap before, while Darren is not home. He comes over when Darren is on night shift, while the kids are in the home. Anna has apparently been able to cover up by telling the kids she does his injections and that it's private, so she administered them behind a locked door. He is also in roids and she's in hers. Darren did ask if I thought she was cheating back in January, due to her libido suddenly becoming very heightened. At the time, I thought it was because of a recent surgery she had. I don't think it will be too hard to convince him, and I'd say he has an inkling already. As Anna has said over the past few months, he has become possessive and jealous, for obvious reasons. The family trip planned in October is with another family friend and their family for the husband's 40th birthday. They have split activities, accommodation, etc. I think. We do need to keep in mind that Darren may choose to stay and work it out. In this case, Greg and I will be put in a very awkward position and possibly be removed from the group, which I'm okay with, but a little bit disheartened at the thought of losing people I've spent the last 20 years with. We have moved the meetup to the day Greg flies on Tuesday. If he was flying home sooner, it would have been done sooner. While it's not pleasant, I've had to sit on the info guys. By the time we confront him, I will have been told exactly 2 weeks and 3 days. Greg and I agree, in person will be best for this particular friend. Now for the full update. First and foremost, thank you for all the advice. I feel the general consensus is that we are not the a-hole. We were dreading catching up with our friend Darren, as we really did not want to be breaking news of this magnitude to him if there was an option for him to either come to the realization himself or her to come clean. Darren texted me Sunday that he had caught her. Greg and I still saw him and offered as much support as possible. She definitely watered down her BS, but Greg and I have told Darren what we know, which he said he is extremely grateful for. She did not apologize or provide reasoning, but simply packed her bag and left. The kids stayed with him at the family home. The children were distraught and Darren seems a broken man. At least now the ball is in his court, and he can see Anna for who she truly is. Darren is a mess, but has plenty of people surrounding him, including her family and friends. As for mine and Anna's friendship, I have decided I will be removing myself from it, and I'm no longer in contact with her, nor do I plan to be. I know plenty of people deemed me the a-hole for betraying a friend's trust, but was she really a friend, blaming and guilting me after making me complicit in her own deceit? I did not mention in the post that Anna had told me the following morning that it was good I knew, because now she could use me as an excuse. I don't owe loyalty to a friend like that. As for the group, I have messaged them about my stance and why I will be removing myself from Anna. Again, the ball is in their court. It's their decision if they choose to continue a relationship with her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling people that my wife and I are planning to get divorced? After a tumultuous year, my wife, 32 female, told me a 34 male should like to separate, and I agreed with her. She told me she wanted me out of her life as soon as possible so that she could move on. But we have a shared apartment, so she'd like me to move out full-time. For the last 6 months, I've been living sometimes in my office to give her and I some space. I always imagined that this would be temporary until we solved things, but now that we are no longer together, I don't feel bound to her anymore, and thought that I should try and do what's best for myself. That means using the kitchen, shower, and bed in our apartment. It wasn't great having to live on takeout and sleeping on a couch here in the office for months on end. She said that this gave her a lot of anxiety and that she would contact her parents, who are leasing the apartment to her, to throw me out, and that she'd say whatever it took to get them to do that. I went immediately to her parents to seek reassurances that this wouldn't happen. I later found out that this is illegal. When I showed her the law, she said my reading comprehension sucked, and that even if it was illegal, she'd just get me deported since my visa application hasn't been finalized yet. Since then, I've made arrangements to stay with my parents in the States, travel around Germany to see the friends I met there one last time, found a lawyer, tried a support group, and generally have just attempted to move on. It's been difficult though, because she keeps messaging me telling me about how she isn't feeling well, and that she secretly didn't want to divorce, but was hoping for a break so that we could see if things got better. In Germany, you need to separate for a year before beginning divorce proceedings. She's also talking now about how things might be better, but that all went out the window when she found out that I told our parents. She said that it's simultaneously her right to tell her own parents, and that I shouldn't have told mine because my father is kind of a blabbermouth. I really wouldn't have said anything to her parents honestly if I wasn't so panicked about being kicked out of our apartment. She doesn't know that I told a bunch of my friends already, so I can only imagine how angry she will be when that happens. So am I the a-hole? You're getting a divorce. It doesn't really matter if she is mad at you. Get the paperwork done and move on. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You owe her nothing. It doesn't matter if she is mad. It doesn't matter if you're an a-hole. Block her mentally. Block her totally and tell her if she needs to communicate with you, she can do that through your attorney. Better not block her, but to communicate 100% through text so everything is in writing. Not the a-hole. Too bad for her that she couldn't control the narrative and make out that you were the bad person in all of this. That is what it was really about. She wanted to poison the fields of your friends and family before you had a chance to say anything. God only knows what she planned to accuse him of. OP, get your narrative out there far and wide. They know exactly what she's like. Next story. Am I the a-hole? I told my ex's mom that her son physically abused me and it broke their family. I, 24 female, broke up with my ex, 24 male, after a few years of hell. I was beaten by him from time to time whilst living with his family. I was blackmailed and threatened by him to stay silent for so long. The bruises I had on my rib cage were hidden by clothing, so the family never saw. But eventually, I got the courage to escape and ended a toxic relationship. I kept in contact with his mom, Sandra, who is like a second mom to me, and we meet for coffees now and again. She doesn't know the real reason why I broke up with her son. While in therapy, Sandra texted to check how my sessions were going and asked to meet at a cafe afterwards. She knew I was going to therapy but had no clue what for. We sat in the car for a bit, chatted, and I showed her briefly some worksheets I was given from my therapist. Basically, a printout of a PPT they made about domestic violence. Sandra looked through the sheets, me forgetting that she didn't even know about it all. She became manic and worried and asked why I have therapy in domestic violence. I would feel terrible just lying to her face, so I told her to park in a more private area to chat, and then explained that her son physically mistreated me. She was mortified, to say the least. We both ended up in tears and hugged each other. I received a text a week later from Sandra that she recommended anger management centers and therapy for him, which she refused. So, she said unless he seeks help, she's cutting him out of her life. She canceled holiday, birthday, and Christmas plans with him for the rest of the year. Did not expect that. And then get told by friends that my ex has said he is self-harming now because I told his mom about the abuse. I know it was her decision to kick him out and his actions to me are unforgivable, but I can't help feeling guilty for breaking up their family and causing her son to be suicidal. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your ex is suffering the consequences of his actions. 1. Nobody forced him to abuse you. That was his choice. 2. He could have avoided being cut off by going to therapy and anger management. Also, hopping on here to say the fact he's saying he's self-harming because of you is another manipulation tactic. Stay strong, OP. Different situation, and the ex and I are more or less amicable. But even when she found out I was self-harming, I made it clear it wasn't because of her. It was the situation of the breakup and what that entailed, sure, but it wasn't her fault. It was depression in my feelings. Nobody else caused them. 100% a manipulative tactic if it's like, you're making me want to end myself. Not the a-hole. Oh, poor him. His abuse has been found out by his mom. He's not going to end himself. It's his way of trying to turn the tables and become a victim. Classic narcissist move. You did the right thing by telling the truth. Yes, the world would be a better place if we normalized the outing of perpetrators of DV, child abuse, sexual abuse. What's different here and frankly encouraging is that the relative of the perp didn't defend him. I mean, let's get real here. The guy should be in prison. It's kind of messed up that OP has any care whatsoever that he's currently separated from his family. That's trivial, relative to what should have happened to him, and that she's guilty about this is an indication of the screwed up dynamics around these issues. He assaulted her repeatedly. For that, he should be in prison for a long time for repeated violent felonies. Am I the only one who's worried that OP could be in danger now that he knows she told his mom? Stay safe, OP. I'm glad his mom was on your side. Funny you should say that. I am absolutely terrified of him because he lives in the same area as I do. I have actually accidentally bumped into him a couple times and have had to run away. I'm considering filing a restraining order against my ex. What do you think? Don't consider it. Do it. Contact the police and let them know your fear. Also ask your therapist if she has any ideas for how to protect yourself, especially if your ex knows where you live. You're not overreacting. Last story. Am I the a-hole for going no contact with my family after they expected me to get back with my ex and help her raise her affair baby? I am 30 male. I am not sure how to word this because I'm crushed and don't know what to do. I have been with my high school sweetheart Cassie since we were 17. My parents love her and so did I. Our parents were always asking when we would get married and give them grandchildren, and me and Cassie would say when we are financially stable. We are both doing good in our careers. My job, however, required me sometimes to leave the country. I left 7 months ago. I am due to go back this week. Except a friend of mine rang me to tell me that Cassie is 3 months pregnant. Obviously, I am not the father. I didn't believe my friend and rang up Cassie. And after pushing her, she finally broke down crying and admitted that she is pregnant and it was a drunken mistake. She said she doesn't know who the father is because it was a random guy. She said she wanted to keep the baby, and we raised the baby. I was in shock and ended the call. I texted her and said we were done. She tried to ring back, but I switched my phone off. I was on autopilot for a couple of days and just worked. Then my boss told me he had a family emergency call from my dad, and I took the call. My parents basically said that Cassie confessed to cheating, but it was a mistake, and the baby needs a father. I saw red and told him if he was so worried about the baby, then he can step up and be there. We got into a heated argument and I ended the call and blocked him. My mother, him and ex had been texting on different numbers and telling me to step up and mistakes happened. I got so frustrated that I rang them up and said that I was going no contact with them and I will be looking to applying for a visa to stay in the current country permanently. I heard my mother and ex start crying before I hung up. It's been a week now, and I have time to think about what happened and wonder if I'm the a-hole. Not the a-hole. And why the heck do so many people think a man should bite the bullet and raise some rando's kid because their wife/girlfriend/acquaintance decided to have unprotected sex with some other guy? Also, a drunken mistake. Hands up if you find your partner gone, then go get drunk and hook up. I did get drunk once and argued that our outside Christmas lights looked too much like Easter lights and would confuse the neighbors. I was told to come inside and sleep it off. Not the a-hole, and don't look back ever. Your parents are freaking a-holes for trying to step up as the father of the affair. This is a great opportunity to make everything you want. Don't throw it away. I think his parents want grandkids so bad that they lost their mind. Or one or both his parents have cheated. Why else are they pushing him to forgive? Sounds very suspicious. Am I the a-hole for exposing my ex-husband for taking the gift I got for my son's 16th birthday? My female 36 ex-husband, male 37, divorced me after I got diagnosed with cancer. He made it all about him, then blamed me for our marriage failing. Got married to a 23-year-old woman who calls me by mocking nicknames. I try to have a good co-parenting relationship. I have a 16-year-old son who lives in both houses. His 16th birthday was days ago, and I bought him a console and sent it to his dad's house in advance since I was out of town and couldn't attend the birthday celebration. 2 days later, one day before the birthday, my ex-husband called saying he opened the gift I got for our son, used it, and broke it. I was in dismay when he told me, and I started arguing with him about paying for it to replace it. But he started pleading saying he has no money and asked that I either send another gift, didn't have to be a console, or just tell our son I didn't send him a gift. I told him no way I was going to lie to my son, but he kept begging saying he'll pay me back once he's able. I ended a call with him, then immediately called my son to let him know what his father did to his birthday gift. A huge fight ensued, and my ex-husband called me yelling saying I not only ruined our son's birthday celebration, but ruined his relationship with him over a stupid console that he was going to pay for, but that I was being spiteful trying to one-up him. My son went to stay at my place with my current husband, and hasn't been speaking to his dad. His dad is blaming me because our son refused to stay and celebrate his birthday there after finding out what his dad did. My ex-husband's wife berated me in a long text talking about how I caused a scene and used my son as a tool to get back at his dad when I could have worked things out like a mature adult. She said she doesn't get me and that there's something wrong with my personality. She even claimed she would be a better, more mature mom than me that never involved her kids in her fights with her partner. I was upset by her lecture and felt maybe I mishandled the situation and made a hasty decision. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your ex is a piece of work. First, he should never have opened a present. And second, how the heck do you break a console that fast? I don't know what it was, of course. But like, I have a Switch and an Xbox. And they've both taken quite a few good knocks over the years with no issue. You sure you didn't just return or pawn it? Edit. After some more thought and discussion below, I 100% think he stole it. Whether he pawned, returned, or kept it for himself, I don't know. But I just have trouble believing he just somehow broke a console beyond repair and binned it without discussion. And nobody else around. It's just way too suspicious. Right, I don't see how he broke it so quick. Like, I've dropped my PS4 a couple of times and the thing is old and still not broke. Also, OP, you're not the a-hole. And I'd block your ex-husband's wife and only talk to your ex-husband about your son. The stepmom needs to step out of it because she doesn't get a say. And your ex can't be mad if his son won't talk to him anymore. He's annoying. And he didn't have to open his son's gift when it was for the son, not him. Not the a-hole. What kind of a grown man opens his kid's birthday gift, uses it, and just like magic, breaks it? I'm ready to bet he broke the gift on purpose because he didn't buy your son anything and didn't want to look like a loser. Of course, for them it's okay for your son to believe that his mother didn't bother buying him a gift, but it's not okay for your son to know that his father is a selfish idiot. Also, the fact that the son believes his mom probably shows he knows what kind of a-hole his dad is. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, and you need to tell the ex's new wife to sit down and shut the heck up. You are co-parenting with a father, not her. She's the type that has a loud mouth and acts like she's older than me and knows better, always criticizing me, and getting herself involved in any arguments that occur. Big girls fix their mistakes. And since you're so insistent on putting yourself in affairs that don't concern you and trying to be the better mom, why don't you be a doll and cash up for the new console? Not the a-hole, obviously. And how does a console just break without a foul intent? You don't have to play nice with condescending leeches. Next story. Am I the a-hole for siding with my daughter when she said she doesn't want to stand up for her stepsister? I, 48 female, have been with my husband, 50 male, for 6 years now. I have a daughter, Bex, 16 female, from a previous relationship, and he has a daughter, Stella, 16 female, from his previous relationship. Bex and Stella go to the same school. Bex is a cheerleader while Stella is a quiet person. She likes to keep to herself and doesn't have a lot of friends. Bex, on the other hand, is friends with the whole cheer squad. Recently, Stella informed my husband and I that some other girls at school, who are not friends with Bex, have been picking on her during lunch. Stella doesn't want to involve the school because she would get into trouble for other unrelated matters. So my husband asked Bex if she could stand up for Stella and tell the other girls to back off. He feels that since Bex is a popular cheerleader, people will listen to her. Why he thinks this, I have no idea. Anyway, Bex said no. She said she doesn't want to fight someone else's fight. She doesn't want to make herself a target either. My husband then asked me if I could ask Bex. I did, and she said no again. I informed my husband that she rejected. He got angry and told that Bex is a spoiled blonde princess who thinks she's a nicer version of Regina George. Literally said that. My ex is a lawyer, single and no other child, so she does have some nice stuffs. And went on a rant about how popular girls have an easy time just being on the sidelines and not doing anything to stop bullying. I told him that while it would be a nice thing for Bex to stand up for Stella, she isn't obligated to do anything. At dinner, he brought it up again. Stella was quiet and didn't say anything, and when Bex said no again, he started yelling at her. I yelled at him, told him to leave Bex alone, and he stormed off. Bex has since then staying with her father. Yesterday, my husband tried to call Bex, but my ex answered and told him to leave her alone. He then started telling me to talk to her. I said I already did, and she said no, and I wasn't going to force her. He called me an a-hole and hasn't spoken to me since. Am I the a-hole? Edit. For everyone asking, the reason Stella says she doesn't want the school involved is that she cheated on a test. But Bex has told me that Stella once used a racial slur which is strictly against school policy, but Stella hasn't confessed to that. Not an a-hole. This is just wrong. A grown man harassing a teenager? Your ex is a lawyer. Do you see where this might end up? Opie seems to be an a-hole to her daughter, so I think everyone sucks here except Bex. If someone called my daughter a spoiled Regina George and bullied her in her own home, there would be some serious consequences. I wouldn't be questioning whether I was being the bad guy with my husband or a step-kid, who might even be an instigator here, given that she thinks she will face consequences from the school if she goes to them about the bullying. What a terrible situation to put Bex in. Hopefully, she can stay at her dad's and Opie will apologize and prioritize visiting her and taking her out one-on-one. Your husband is a bully. Yelling at and then calling a 16-year-old to continue arguing with her? Wow, not appropriate. Being popular in school is a slippery slope. Just because Bex is hanging out with a bunch of girls doesn't mean she controls the group. Plus, if the group picking on Stella isn't in any way related to the cheerleader group, she has no pull. So not only is it not Bex's responsibility to fix this, she probably can't. Lastly, why can't Stella defend herself? Why is she helpless? And why can't she go to the school? If she's going to get in trouble if she tells, then there's a bigger issue here. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend it's weird that she wants to name our son after her dead ex-boyfriend? My 31 male girlfriend's 30 female ex-boyfriend passed away 7 years ago from sickle cell disease. They shared a son together who is 9 years old. I adore him and look after him like he's my own. As for us, we began dating 3 years ago and everything has been going really great. She is currently 6 months pregnant and we are having a boy. We're both really excited, but there is tension between us because she suggested that we name our son after her ex-boyfriend, which I instantly said no to. That's definitely not happening. So she then asked if it could be his middle name then because it would mean a lot to her. I told her it's extremely weird because our kid has absolutely no relation to her ex-boyfriend, and it's offensive to me to have our son named after a dead guy that she used to date. She got all crappy with me and said I was disrespectful and wasn't taking her feelings into consideration, blah blah blah, and then told me to remember that dead guy she used to date is the real father of her son. I don't think it was fair to rub that in my face, so now we're both pissed off with each other. I genuinely think it was out of line for her to even ask me that, not to mention inappropriate. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. I can't believe she threw that real father statement in your face. That makes her the a-hole, pregnant or not. She should have named his child after him, not yours. I don't think she's the a-hole for asking. The middle name suggestion was a pretty good compromise as well. But it is his kid too. And I'm sure if I was in this situation, I'd have a Randy Jackson "that's a no from me dog" reaction. She turned into the a-hole as soon as she had to remind him that he's not her son's real father. Not the a-hole. F that. That isn't his kid. It's your kid. That is insanely disrespectful. And I can't believe someone would suggest naming a child she had with her current boyfriend after an ex. That is a huge red flag, my man. Not the a-hole. She has a whole kid from her ex. Why does your son have to be named after him? Is she still in love with her dead boyfriend? She needs to get some counseling. That isn't her ex's son at all. Her asking to name him after the ex is so inappropriate and weird. To be fair, I feel like it's valid to still love someone who passed away even if you're in another relationship. But you can't let that influence your current relationship and make your significant other name his child after the guy. I feel bad for her. She needs therapy, it sounds like, to get over the big stuff. Next story. Am I the a-hole for implying that my boyfriend is cheap because of the Valentine's Day gift he got me? I, female 31, have been with my boyfriend, male 37, who's a single dad with 2 boys for 2 years. He has a decent job with decent income and is into woodworking as a hobby. For Valentine's Day, birthdays, and every other celebration, he'd gift me mostly jewelry, and I get him his favorite gadgets or sports gear. For this Valentine, I got him sneakers, and I found out today that his gift for me was a wooden framed photo of him, me, and the kids. I gotta say, I wasn't thrilled with it. When I told my boyfriend my honest opinion, I didn't want to open my mouth, but he pushed me. He said he couldn't believe this was my reaction. But I pointed out that he has money too for a $200 necklace at least, so I could wear it at the engagement party. But he said I was out of line to imply he was being cheap, when all he was doing was to make me a special gift. I'd also had the kids help with it and put so much thought and effort in it, because they see me as a family and I should be appreciative of that. I said I was, but still thought he could have added a necklace as a great combo, but he got even more mad, saying he couldn't understand why I'd value a necklace as much as, or even over a special gift he and the kids made for me. We went back and forth on this and breakfast got ruined. He went upstairs and refused to speak to me. I feel like he blew this out of proportion since he asked for my opinion, and I don't know if he has the right to be upset with me now. Am I the a-hole? For Valentine's Day, birthdays, and every other celebration, he'd gift me mostly jewelry. So you don't have enough jewelry yet? How many necks do you have? Yeah, he has more than a right to be upset with you. Wear an old necklace and appreciate what you have with this man and his kids. You're the a-hole. Plot twist? Opie's a giraffe. But I'm gonna say it. A $200 necklace really is not great anyway. If you're gonna be shallow, go all the way. You're the a-hole. I'm assuming he made a frame, which takes a lot of time and effort. Every minute of the project he would be thinking of you. Then he found a photo of him and his kids and you. He is literally presenting you with an image of you as part of his family. And you're complaining as it's not worth a lot. Do you know the minimum value of the wood? Then add that to his time. Entitled much? I'm wondering if the image of the family together is something that he was planning to make happen. With an engagement ring at dinner, a more intimate affair than breakfast with family. And he was really asking how she felt about being in that picture and not the gift itself. Definitely Opie is the a-hole. Wonder if he holds back on that ring. I agree. Opie may have just showed their true colors and made him do a rethink. This could be life-changing. You're the a-hole. His gift is awesome and amazing. The fact that you're upset because of the dollar value is sad. There are things in life that are more important than money. Those 3 people in that picture and who made that frame are more valuable than a necklace. I mean, the dollar value actually is probably quite high if you consider the time it took him to do it, and his hourly pay plus the time it took to go buy the materials, and of course the price of the materials. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for being ungrateful that my boyfriend keeps getting me chocolate? So my boyfriend and I have been together for 8 months, and we get along and everything. I don't like chocolate, except dark chocolate, like J mints. I had a dairy allergy when I was a kid, and even though I outgrew it for the most part, I just don't like chocolate. My boyfriend seems to think he'll get me to like chocolate because all girls like chocolate and it's weird I don't. He's given me chocolates for every holiday, either with a different gift or chocolate was the gift. He tells me to just try it, so I do, and end up disliking it, so he eats it. It's annoying to put thought into his gift, and he keeps purposely getting me something I dislike. We did Valentine's yesterday, and he gave me 3 things of chocolate. I was sorta annoyed. It is said I was being ungrateful, and Valentine's is a chocolate holiday, so what do you expect? My ex-boyfriend one time got me donuts for Valentine's Day because he knew I hated chocolate. I told him I'm never going to like chocolate, and it's not funny or whatever he thinks it is. He said most girls like chocolate, and I should be happy that he even remembers to get a gift. That is not his fault I'm so picky. Maybe he's right, and I'm just being stubborn or something. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. He is demonstrating, repeatedly, that you do not matter to him. Believe him. Also, that he's using Opie to get himself a gift. He knows she doesn't like chocolate, but he does. So he uses trying to convince her to get himself chocolate. Next, it will be all girls like bowling balls that say Homer. Not stay home. Find someone better. You don't need to put up with this. Yeah, 8 months in, and his true colors already showing. She really should call it quits. What happens next time when he buys something else she's not into, but comes away with, but all other girls like that? He is very selfish. Wouldn't be surprised if he bought the chocolates in the hope that he gets to eat them because he knows she won't. Not stay home. If you've specifically told him, I don't like this thing, but he keeps giving it to you anyway, then he has no respect for your opinion. Honestly, when I see chocolate or flowers given as a gift to a woman, all I think is that dude giving it have zero thought. It's generalizing, and frankly sexist to assume all women appreciate that. Yep, can't believe I had to scroll this far to see someone point out that believing stereotypes about women over what this particular woman has told him, repeatedly, what she does and doesn't like is so sexist. Opie, find someone who treats you like an individual, and not a physical embodiment of their idea of a woman. Relationship advice. Update. My 27 female boyfriend, 28 male, is obsessed with my ex, 27 male. Original story. We've been together for 2 years, and before this, I would say our relationship was very close to perfect. At the beginning of the year, though, my boyfriend and I were at the grocery store, and we bumped into my ex and another friend. This was the first time they had ever met each other. We made polite conversation before going our separate ways. My boyfriend made a sarcastic comment about how nice my ex was when he was out of earshot. I didn't think much of it at the time. A few weeks after this, I noticed he was on my ex's Facebook page. When I asked him what he was doing, he shrugged it off and said he was curious because he saw my ex had commented in Luke's, a mutual friend of ours and my ex's, post. He since friended him on there and claimed my ex was the one to initiate it. He's followed him on Instagram and Twitter too. He comments on a lot of his posts too, but my ex rarely comes back. He also somehow got Luke to invite him to my ex and his friends' weekly, virtual hangouts. I mentioned I found it weird that they were hanging out, but he dismissed it and said it wasn't a big deal. He's also started talking about changing his career path to what my ex is doing, and makes snide comments about if his dad paid his way for him, he would take me on fancy trips too. He's also become incredibly passive-aggressive towards me, and makes comments about how if my ex didn't move abroad for a few years, we probably would never have dated. If I say no to anything, including intercourse, he comments about how he bets I wouldn't say no if my ex was the one asking. He also got really sulky when he realized I still had a gift my ex gave me. Yesterday, we had a massive fight over it because I wanted to spend time together, but he ditched me to go hang out with my ex. I got so upset, I told him he might as well date my ex instead. I don't really know what to do now. He's giving me the silent treatment, and I heard him tell my ex what I said, which is really humiliating. What can I do to make him stop hanging out with my ex? Now for the top advice before reading the update. If you want to be so much like my ex, I'll just break up with you too. Red flags all around. It sounds like your guy is deeply insecure and channeling that insecurity into loathing. He's already taking it out on you, manipulating you, pressuring you in the bedroom, even attempting to turn your seemingly amicable ex on you. He's pushing your boundaries, and his demands are impossible. Nothing you do will fix his insecurity, and so he will continue to lash out and demean you. I know, because I have been there. This relationship sounds nothing close to perfect. I sincerely hope you distance yourself from him and get some perspective. Best of luck. Hey, so you mentioned that your relationship was close to perfect before this, but considering this started nearly a year ago, this new dynamic characterizes almost half of your 2 years together. Sounds a lot like he had on a honeymoon period mask and has now revealed his true colors. Sorry, but I don't think getting your boyfriend to stop hanging out with your ex solves your problem. Your current boyfriend has serious issues and is demonstrating a willingness to try to build himself up by tearing you down. He also is apparently pretty manipulative and controlling. So many red flags. He's managed to make you rethink ever saying no to him because you're trying to avoid a manufactured fight in which he compares himself to your ex. He sulks to get his way. He guilts you to get his way by saying you probably wouldn't say no to your ex. Passive-aggressive, etc. It appears he's testing your boundaries to figure out what emotional manipulation he can apply to get his way. He's punishing you by weaponizing things you say while discussing your relationship with him and telling them to others to shame you and make you less likely to advocate for yourself later. Kind of sounds like he's trying to make you jealous to prove you love him more, possibly stemming from insecurity, but could be more malintentioned than that. Constant testing of affection is not a great strategy for longevity. He's insincere. The two-faced thing he has going on with snide comments about how nice your ex was, and making fun of the opportunities/connections your ex had in his career at the same time as he's trying to build a relationship with him to leverage his career connections, is definitely going to catch up with him. The way you describe it, it's deeply creepy how he manipulated his way into your ex's friend circle. I'm sure you want back the boyfriend you thought you had prior to this revelation, but he probably doesn't exist. This is who you're dating. Even if you get him to stop hanging out with your ex, he's demonstrated how he interacts in relationships once he's made it to the comfort level. He will use what he learned through this period to get you to think it's too much of an inconvenience to stick up for yourself in other ways. Please don't buy into the sunk cost fallacy. You've got too much of your life still ahead of you for that. Don't take my word for it, though. I highly recommend you read Lundy Bancroft's Why Does He Do That? I think you'll recognize your boyfriend. And now for the update. After my last post, I tried to take the advice in the comments and suggested couples counseling. And I asked my boyfriend to cut off my ex, but he got angry at me again. He claimed I was the one who needed therapy because I had jealousy issues, and that my ex was one of his good buddies and I couldn't dictate who he was friends with. Then a week later, he had another hangout with my ex and his friends, where he proceeded to very loudly tell them how I was so insecure and I was trying to tell him who he could speak to. My ex and Luke had to tell him to stop, which he didn't like at all. I should have just broken up with him at this point, but I was stupid and still clinging to the hope of my boyfriend going back to how he was. After this happened, my boyfriend was constantly making jabs at my ex and Luke, but then he would still contact them and pretend to be friends with them. Then, he became super interested in what my intimate life was like with my ex. He was constantly asking me who was better between the two of them, and he would ask me if I had done this or that with my ex. I kept telling him I didn't want to talk about it and to stop asking me. I then found out from my ex and Luke that he had been asking my ex directly the same questions, and that he had been bragging about our intimate life to his friends. My ex said he was telling me because my boyfriend made a comment about loaning me to my ex, if he ever felt like recreating old times. That was the final straw for me, and I broke up with him and moved out. My now ex-boyfriend didn't take the breakup well, and he went on a smear campaign. He even contacted my family and my ex's family to tell them we were apparently having an affair and that he had no choice but to break up with me. It's been almost a month since we broke up, and he keeps getting new numbers to text and call me. Deep down, I think I knew this would be how things ended. I'm sad about the relationship I thought we had ending, but now that I've had space away from my ex-boyfriend, I feel much better. And it's like a huge weight has been lifted from my shoulders. Damn, consider a restraining order or something. His obsessive behavior is concerning, and it's better safe than sorry. This actually could be an option. OP, even if he doesn't seem threatening now, please keep a record of every uncomfortable text, call, post, etc. just in case. I've had to deal with a crazy obsessive ex before, and it was a very tough experience. Jesus. I am so sorry about this, but I am glad you were able to get away safely. I don't want to alarm you, but if he is still harassing you, then you need to be concerned. I recommend you let your family and friends know what is going on. Preserve any messages from him that he sends, even from different numbers, and consider if you want to pursue a restraining order. This is not just a bad breakup, this is harassment. If I were OP, I would be a little bit nervous about the potential for physical stalking. In addition to preserving previous evidence, I would start using a security camera at my place, and while I wouldn't agonize over the footage, I would save it just in case. This dude is nuts. Leave and don't ever look back. Seriously. Seriously? Her and her ex broke up for reasons. The now ex still decides it's a good idea to be the bigger idiot. What the hell was he thinking was gonna happen? Now for the next story. Wild update. Guilt. Thinking of ending my 29 female, 10-year marriage to my husband, 32 male. Original story. I feel like a bad partner for even doing this here, but here we go. I have been with my husband for 10 years. Got married because he was in the army and I was trying to escape my life. We both come from very different backgrounds. He is white, from a conservative family, grew up poor. I'm black, grew up rich, from a liberal/educated family. It was very much a poor little rich girl running away with the boy from the wrong side of the tracks. I'm not the easiest person to live with. I am very career-driven and my job is my life. I love what I do, and work in an industry that takes me away from home with weird hours. I'm not a super affectionate person, as it's hard for me to share my feelings, cuddle, etc. I'm never going to be the woman that leaves her husband cutesy sticky notes and love letters. My husband is a good man. He's supportive of what I do, but I'm starting to think we can't give each other what we need. Example, my husband is a very sensitive guy. He also struggles with depression. He loves me more than anything in the world, but expects me to take on all the burdens when he can't. He lost his job 2 months ago. At the same time, I transitioned into a director-level role with a new organization for the first time. He's never done much of the household work, but I asked him to pick up the slack since he's unemployed. He hasn't. Literally sleeps all day. Applies to jobs here/there, but is mostly depressed in bed. I do all the finances, all the housework, most of the cooking. I told him last night that I feel like I take care of him, but he doesn't take care of me/himself. I mentioned splitting the savings to separate. We are both in therapy, separate, and he wants to commit to trying to work things out until the end of the year. I agreed. This morning, he went and bought me coffee, which was sweet, but immediately fell asleep. Even now, he's in the bed snoring. Part of me is over this. I don't want to be with someone else. We've been together for so long. Is it wrong that I'm afraid of losing this investment? I would love to have kids with my husband, but I don't want to bring them into chaos. Honestly, part of me is also concerned about dating at 29. All of my friends are now married/having kids. I feel like I wasted my 20s. Is it too late to start over? I also know my husband would not take separating sitting down, and I'm afraid of breaking his heart. I don't know, Reddit. Help me out. Now for the top advice before reading the update. It sounds like your husband is in a real deep depression, and it's getting to you. Losing a job can be really, really hard on a person. I think considering divorce or separation after just 2 months of unemployment during a time when unemployment has been at its worst in nearly a century seems rather drastic. You've been together nearly a decade. Give him at least a few more months to get his life back on track. I really think times like this are when antidepressants medications can be really helpful in returning life circumstances back to normal. I hope you both will be doing better soon. You kinda lost me here. Is there more to this story? Does he have a long history of unemployment? You've been together for 10 years, and your breaking point is 2 months into your husband having what is clearly a depressive episode that he needs professional help with? If you want to leave for whatever reason, you have absolutely every right to leave. But if you love this man and want to stay, you should be trying to help lift him out of his emotional state, rather than just calling it a day because things aren't exactly how you would like right now. Finally, a good comment. It's as if people just expect perfection. Depression doesn't just last 2 months, and he's your husband. Help him. You should leave because honestly, I think your husband can do better. He's clearly going through a depressive period, and instead of being worried or concerned for his health, you're worried of him not having a job during a pandemic. You made no mention of couples counseling. So you decided, without even trying to save your marriage, that you want to end it. So end it. Give this poor man the freedom to find someone who will love him in sickness and health. Edit. I have to say, I reread your post. And the more I read it, the more I find little to like. You are upset your husband went to sleep after getting you coffee, but you yourself admit to not being cutesy. You sound like someone who needs attention but can't give it. He's been depressed our entire marriage. He has been in inpatient treatment. He has been on medication. We have done couples therapy. I gave him 2 whole years once he got out of the military to readjust. I just took a job trying to work on police reform with a bunch of cops. In this moment, I mentioned I'm a director level now because for the first time I have a team and would like support. Maybe he does deserve someone else. Maybe I do too. And now for the update. I posted 5 months ago about ending my 10-year marriage to my underemployed and depressed ex. I had a lot of guilt at the time and wrote a self-deprecating post and got roasted. Lol. Looking back at the post now, I really was going out of my way to paint my ex in a good light. I was in love with him. I still have so much love for him after a decade and tried to protect him. I did take some advice that I got and did a collateral visit with my now ex's therapist that same week. And that meeting is when the crap hit the fan. Through the conversation with the therapist, I found out my ex has borderline personality disorder. The therapist asked me how I was coping with that news. Apparently my ex told his therapist that he had told me. A lie. But it makes sense. The diagnosis is terrifying. I was more pissed about the lying about it. Not telling your wife for 10 years that you have BPD was the last straw for me. We got into it after my session ended. Surprise, surprise, and everything started spilling out. Here are some things I found out during that final spat. He probably, definitely, cheated on me multiple times. He might have a 13-year-old child and never bothered to get a paternity test. He has a bunch of adult tapes of us that I did not consent to, which he threatened to leak. My entire world became undone at that moment, and I felt like I was looking at a stranger. I was honestly terrified of him after this was all disclosed. I packed up my stuff that day and left. Filed for divorce in January, and I just moved into my own place. I got a lot of crap in my original post. I was called gold digger, shallow, etc. Some of what was implied about me were true in retrospect, and I don't regret posting what I did. I've been in therapy to help me understand how a 19-year-old wound up married in the first place. But that's a different story. I'm nowhere near ready to be in a committed relationship anytime soon. Anyone reading this who has a funny feeling about a relationship, follow your instincts. Maybe it's nothing, but it might also be everything. Now for closing comments. I was called gold digger. This is particularly hilarious because it sounds like you were the one paying the bills. Good lord. Thank God you got away from this dude. Literally, anytime a woman is deemed insufficiently supportive of a sad/angry partner, there will be at least one comment implying, or outright stating, that she sees him as nothing more than a meal ticket, regardless of their actual financial situation. A lot of people out there who are very quick to throw that accusations around. Can't dig for gold you don't have. I love when people say dumb stuff like that. Like, unless you're secretly a millionaire coming into inheritance, you'll have to miss me with that $50,000 salary. That's more like copper digging. I'm so sorry this happened to you. You did the right thing by getting out, and I wish you the best. Threatening to leak an adult tape is just so unbelievably low and abusive to you. Personality disorder or not? Pretty sure threatening to leak a tape is also illegal, especially if it was recorded without a party's consent. Just wanted to say, BPD isn't a terrifying diagnosis and doesn't make someone evil or bad. Your ex-husband is evil and bad and just also happens to have a personality disorder. I'm really glad that you got out, and I wish you happiness and healthy relationships going forward. I have BPD, and it made me sad to read that in her post. Thank you for saying this. I see what you're saying. I don't think I worded what I was trying to say correctly. I was trying to say, in a sense, I understood being afraid to tell someone. But the lying about it to both me and the therapist was the scary part. I struggle with depression and anxiety. I know there's a stigma around mental health. I appreciate the comment and hope this explanation makes sense.